We're going to start with Ms. Solano.
Good evening, Chairman Aliff, City Council, and Mayor Gradisar. I have just a few city updates this evening. And I'll start with the COVID update for the day. There was a meeting this afternoon among the public information officers with the Pueblo County Health Department, the sheriff, the county, the city, and the police department. So this afternoon's information is as follows. The 1 week cumulative positive case count was 95.8 today. You know, it was over 100 for one night the end of last week, and then it dropped back below 100 yesterday or Saturday. The positivity rate is 3.6%, and across the country they look for under 5%. So our 3.6 is holding there. We have 6 days of stabilized hospitalization COVID count. Today at Parkview there were 28 COVID patients, and 8 of those were in critical care. And I have no information for St. Mary Corwin. The COVID equity and outreach team will continue to distribute the 100 Walmart gift card vaccine incentive through September 15th while supplies last. And the schedule of locations is on the city's Facebook page, the health department Facebook page, the county Facebook page, all on social media and the city's website. So for information on where the buses will be, there are $100 gift cards still available for distribution for incentive. The health department recorded this morning that Pueblo is now at 58% of the vaccine eligible individuals in Pueblo County are vaccinated. That equals 81,519 individuals, and the goal remains at 70% for herd immunity. So we are creeping up that ladder. Next update is with the Colorado State Fair Parade and the city float. There is a group of internal city employees that will begin working on the float. They've had one planning meeting with the theme of either heroes and rodeo, I think is the theme, and the city's theme will be rodeo. This year they've adopted a heroes theme in the past. The team will meet the week before the fair to put the float together, and then we'll meet the following week to convert it to a Fiesta Day float. There is room on that float for all, and all city council invited. It is scheduled, that parade, for Saturday, August the 28th. And Tracy's direction to me to share is that the details about parking and location and time will be coming very soon as they finalize it. We've received some good news today, really good news. The city of Pueblo was awarded a CDOT grant for revitalizing Main Street, the RMS grant coming out of COVID, in the amount of $2 million. And this grant will assist Pueblo in the multimodal safety improvements as a result of the Union Avenue Master Plan and the Main Street Avenue Master Plan. It is designed for, and I listed the bullets here for you, for prioritizing streetscapes, which supports a safe pedestrian-oriented physical environment and a variety of multimodal transportation options. It provides for economic development, capitalizing on local businesses and improving access and connectivity to the major destinations around Main Street and Union Avenue. It provides for placemaking and strengthening connections between people and public places, and reinventing, revitalizing, and strengthening linkages between all of those surrounding areas. It enhances placemaking and walkability, and it provides for safe and inviting place to shop and to dine, including outside dining with slower traffic speeds and a wider sidewalk with additional lighting. So that was just really a good news that we received today with that $2 million additional funding that will support those 2 master plans. And that does conclude the city updates for this evening. Do you have any questions?
Thank you, Ms. Solano. Questions, comments? Councilor Schilling?
Laura, was that 2 million unexpected, or was it already figured in the total amount budget we'd been given previously?
It was a grant that appeared coming out of the recovery of COVID, that when the internal staff and Shelley looked at the qualifications and eligibility, they put a team together and worked really quickly to assemble that application. And it's an additional $2 million that will help really fund the budget, because the budget's pretty steep.
Wonderful. Thank you. Good job, folks.
Daryl, Counselor Winter can't get in, she says. Do you see her?
Can I forward the link to her?
Yeah, do that.
I'll tell her you're sending a new link. Okay, any other questions for Ms. Solano? Comments? Hearing none, we'll move on to number 2 on the agenda, which is the National League of Cities, a membership introduction. Mr. Kirk Ross, are you available?
I am.
Hey, great to see you.
Thank you all for having me. Let me queue up my presentation real quick. Make sure I can get the right screen going. All right, should be able to see my presentation here. So I want to thank everybody real quick for joining the National League of Cities. The city of Pueblo is one of our newest members to come on after our Cities Are Essential campaign that culminated in the American Rescue Plan Act. We're really grateful to have city leaders from across the country advocating for the needs of cities. So I'm going to make this real quick. Really, at the end of the day, I just want for you to know that I am your staffer here at NLC. I want you to think of me as an extension of your own City Hall staff. Anything that the city of Pueblo needs, I am here to help. And I would love for each and every one of you to get engaged in any way that you would love to get engaged by learning about it here today. This presentation also has been given to Miss Tracy, and she will be able to disseminate this along with, I will follow up with her on links of how to be able to join the committees, councils, and constituency groups. So let's dive into it. National League of Cities. I don't know how many of you know much about us, but we are the national voice of local municipalities in Washington, D.C., and we advocate for more than 200 million people across the country that live in those municipalities. So that is our cities all the way from in the West. I have the pleasure of working with as small cities as Taos Ski Village of 46 all the way to Los Angeles, California, and everyone in between. So our mission is to strengthen local leadership, influence federal policy, drive innovative solutions. And this is how we do that, through our core principles. So we are all about empowering local leaders to lead in their local communities. We know that you are the experts when it comes to your community and the needs of your community, and we want to empower you to do the best job possible. So how we accomplish this is through our federal advocacy committees. We have 7 of those, ranging from transportation and infrastructure and finance, all the way from environmental, public safety, human development. All of these are our committees in which members join, and this is how the policy of the National League of Cities is developed. It is strictly from the members and voted on by members to become policy, and then these are our marching orders for our team of 10 lobbyists in Washington, D.C. So when we say we're advocating for you, they do not deviate from your orders. You let them know how we can best advocate for you. Then we have our member councils. So this is a range of different groups that are specialty communities from across the country, ranging from suburbs, military communities, small cities, etc. So these act as kind of homerooms, as you could think of it, for a lot of our members. This is where they meet with similarly positioned or cities to be able to advocate for the specific needs of your community. So we have these here and would love for you to get involved with those. Some of them, I'm going to take a minute. I actually chair the First Tier Suburbs Council, and we actually do our own research, and we have a grant program that we are sponsored by an outside economic development consulting firm. And we take those applications every December, and it's a wonderful program that we've been holding for the last 3 years. Then we have our constituency groups, is what we refer to these as. These are for people that self-identify with one of these groups, or people that want to learn more or advocate for these groups. So there's Women in Municipal Government, National Black Caucus, local elected officials. There's the Asian Pacific American municipal officials. There's LGBTQ+. There's the Hispanic elected local officials group. And then all of this is really underscored by our work. The Department of Race, Equity, and Leadership. And this is a department within NLC that partners with outside foundations like the Kellogg Foundation to bring programming and technical assistance to local elected officials to help with race and equity initiatives in your city. They do everything from speaking at state leagues. A number of you may have seen those at the Colorado Municipal League, or they also do one-on-one city to the real team consulting work as well. So they've worked across the nation. But then one of the big things here at NLC is our Savings and Solutions programs. These are additional programs that cities can sign on to help your cities take advantage of discounts and benefits. One of them is grant access. These are all free. What we would need is just someone in the city to be that point of contact and create a profile. I can help whoever that would be. And then this gives the city access to the largest grant database out there. So this is, at the time of this presentation was built, it was 10,000. The last time I checked, it was 12,500. So it is a huge database. And I used to work for another nonprofit and used this database. It's a very, very influential tool. We have a number of others. One of the other ones that is quite popular is the prescription drug discount program sponsored by CVS. They work with your city to create a prescription discount card with the city emblem on it, and then they ship you as many as you want. And at the rodeo parade that I heard earlier, you could hand those out to all of your residents, and they'd be able to take care of their prescription drug discount needs. There's a number of others that we have. Some of these are internal, and we have entire staff teams that work on those. We have experts inside NLC to handle this one. This one is actually sponsored outside. It's called CGI Communications. The CGI works with your city to produce free content to really showcase Pueblo and to let people that are moving into the area know why that they should live in Pueblo. Now what my granddad says, there ain't no such thing as a free lunch. How this actually is funded is they work with organizations and businesses within the community to get sponsorships for those videos, but then highlight those businesses in the showcase trailer. So it's a great program, and a lot of our members have been really thrilled by the videos that come out of those. So last but not least, we have our conferences and our meetings. Congressional Cities Conference takes place in November, and this is where the real nuts and bolts of the organization takes place. This is when the fly-in into DC. NLC staffers take care of all of your scheduling with your congressional offices, and we also work together in training on advocacy before we send you up to Capitol Hill. This is also where a lot of the policy is developed as well. Then there's City Summit. City Summit happens in November every year. This time it's just on the other side of the mountains from y'all, and it will be held in Salt Lake. This is our roll out the red carpet. This is where all of the research from our research departments is showcased every year. And this is the big hurrah that we put on once a year for our members. So once again, I am Kirk Ross. I'm your membership engagement manager for the West region. I want you to think of me, though, as an extension of your city staff. Please put me to work. Let me know how I can help the city of Pueblo. And here's my information. And I will also make sure that Ms. Tracy has all that she needs for you to become engaged with NLC. If there's any questions, I can take those. If not, I thank you all for having me here this evening.
Hey, thank you. Great information. Any questions, comments? I actually looked into this a few weeks ago when we got the information in our emails. And one thing that I was kind of confused on, I saw that there was a council for large cities, which was over 200,000. And then a council for small cities, 50,000 or less. Pueblo's 108,000. Where do we fit in?
Yes, and not exactly a suburb either. So what I would suggest is I'd like you to come to our first tier suburbs. I hear what you're saying, and actually one of the leaders on our first tier suburbs is in a very similar position as Pueblo, and I would love to work with the city of Pueblo. And then also hers is Redmond, Oregon, which is right outside of Bend, very much kind of a regional capital is what I would call, Pueblo to be. So I would love to work with you in developing a council to fit the needs of Pueblo.
Great. Thank you for the info. Councilor Flores.
Yes, I noticed on your webpage, you do research, I guess, for cities. And we're trying to put together what's called a dashboard of current information that we can start looking at on a monthly basis to make decisions. And I'm wondering, I noticed there's a login deal. Do all of us get that? Or do we get that information in order that the council could log in?
Yes, each one of you have a developed, you have your own profile developed in our database. And so what I can work with each one of you, or there are instructions that I can get you to be able to build that profile. And then you have access to things like our online community, where there's online communities and platforms to discuss those. Now, I believe what you were talking about in the research department. So we have two departments that handle our research. That's the Institute for Family, Youth, and Education, also referred to as IYEF. This is much more of what I would refer to as the micro of a city. This is real working with your residents on things like, boys and men of color work to make sure that we can keep kids, out of gangs and in constructive after school activities. It's also about financial planning for your residents. And there's programs that cities that can get into for that technical assistance training. And then there is the City Solutions organization within NLC, and they do the macro research. So this is housing, this is economic development, this is your real city planning type ideas. But you were talking about a listserv of topics that the city needs to. Can you give me a little bit more about that? I'm going to take some notes and see who I can get you in touch with.
One of the things that occurs because we are a captive board here is that we get a lot of people that will come talk to us about issues that we have no oversight over. Veterans would be a good example. Even complaints about our school district, which has a completely separate board. But I noticed that you touch on a lot of topics for cities that like we don't get involved in, but it seems to me that you could be a referral to those people that are having a problem, whether it's a VA problem or whether there's some larger school issue that they want to deal with. Is that correct, that you are a resource for those things that are probably a lot more expansive than what we deal with under our city charter.
Yes, we would probably refer to, let's say if it's a city school board issue, we would probably refer them to one of our sister organizations that actually handle city school board issues. As for VA issues, best person, if it's a resident, best person, if they're having a problem with their VA would probably be their congressional representative to reach out to. But I will say that if you do have individuals in your community that are really concerned about this, and if this is something that any of you are passionate about, we do have the military communities. Our veterans live in all of our communities, and these are the men and women that have served our nation and need services to be able to re-enter into our civilian society, or to be able to take care of injuries that they sustained while protecting all of us. So that's a really great resource for those communities and for individuals that really are passionate about veterans affairs. That is actually led by the council member, Robin Arredondo Savage. She is from Tempe, Arizona, and she is a veteran herself of, I believe, the Air Force. And so she has firsthand experience in reintroducing into civilian life. But they've worked with Wounded Warrior Project, and they've partnered on projects with them in the past. And so I'd be really encouraging you to get involved with that, or that community group.
Thank you. Anybody else? Lori, do you have anything?
I don't. Thanks, Mark.
All right. Well, Kirk, thank you very much for the information, and I'm sure we'll be reaching out to you.
Yes, I look forward to it. Please let me know how I can help the city of Pueblo. Have a great evening.
You too. Move number 3 on the agenda, which is OpenGov, City of Pueblo portal. Kelly Grisham. There you go. Timing is everything.
I can't hear anything.
Yeah, nothing's happening yet.
But then I have to be online to present, so it's not really. Yeah, it's only one slide. Hi, everybody. Kelly Grisham with the City of Pueblo Public Works Department. I don't know if all of you know me or not, but I've been working with IT to put this project together for a few years now. I came up, after we started using Tyler, we realized that we needed an automated system to deal with applications. We needed somewhere where folks could get online and using a portal actually submit their application so that they don't have to come in person. So we started with this a couple years ago. Go ahead. So in 2018, we began evaluating the systems. At that point in 2019, we received funding from City Council in the amount of $300,000 during the 2020 budget process. So April of 2020, I don't think those dates are right. We entered into an agreement with OpenGov. And then June 24th of 2020, we kicked off the project. I was thinking it was all in the same year. It's been over a year now. So we're planning August 31st to go live. Currently, we are on schedule. So with that, I would like to, and the departments associated with this are, as you could see, planning, fire prevention, licenses with city clerk, like liquor license and marijuana, non-cigarette tobacco, public works, stormwater, wastewater, transportation, and code enforcement. So the public will be able to submit code enforcement complaints online, attach pictures, get notifications if code enforcement wants to send them out notifications as well. So it's a great tracking tool for even our code enforcement department. Okay. So at this point, yes, I would like to get online and just show you guys what it's going to look like from the applicant side, and then show you a little bit of what the staff is going to see. Okay, so I'm going to jump over here. Try these.
Laura, are you able to see the Google?
Hi, I've just got a little tiny sliver of your screen.
So
They're working on it.
Oh, okay.
It should be.
oh, my screen sharing is paused.
Okay.
Okay, can you see it now?
How about now?
Yes, thank you.
Deal. Okay. So this is going to be, this is really hard. I'm going to turn this a little bit. So this is the homepage where everybody's going to be directed to. We will have links on the city's website that'll take them to being able to apply here. So there's a search that they can just do, type in residential construction so that it takes them right to there. Or they could do a project if they want to start a construction project. They click on that and it will take them to a series of yes or no questions that helps them determine what type of application they need. So we're going to say yes, it will take, the construction will take place at a residence. Then it asks if it will take place in an apartment complex, so no. I'm just pretending to do a residential construction type new house. Will the construction take place at a business? And will it be for a wireless communication facility? So you say no. And based on what you put here, I'm gonna actually just change this one to yes, just so you can see. But it tells me that I need to apply for a residential construction and a non-residential construction. So based on my answers, it tells me what all I need to do. So if somebody wants to apply for like a planning and zoning commission hearing, or a city council, it's like a vacation, a subdivision, and a special area plan, they can go through, answer the questions, and then it puts all of their applications together as one project. So I'm gonna go ahead and start my project. And I've got to log in, and anybody can log in, create, sign up with their email address. We are working with the IT department and the planning department to figure out what we're going to do if somebody just doesn't have an email address. We're probably this point, we're planning on setting up kind of a generic email address where we can put all applications, and then the planning staff will just monitor those. Wrong email. I'm going to start the project, and we'll do Kelly test project. And then it's going to tell me what, to be able to start each of these applications. So I'm going to go ahead and do a residential application. And it's going to ask me for confirming my contact information. All of this is generated from the applicant. So in my account, all of this information is stored, so I can change it on my account, or if I need to, I can change it on this screen. The only thing I can't change is my email address. On this screen, you can go to your account and change your email address. So let's say next. At this point, I'm going to search for an address or parcel. You could search by an address or a parcel ID. And you can see as I'm typing, it's bringing up different locations. So it's very easy to search for things. At this point, I can change my location. I can add property owner information, their email address. So let's just add some random details in here. Also, it gives me the property data. It has the subdivision, the zoning, the parcel number. It's also going to be having the legal description. Once I do that, it gets into a series of applications. So I've got some help text to let me know that if I'm doing a multifamily, I'm at the wrong place. Then it asks what type of work. So I'm going to do a new residential home. And it does conditional formatting. So once I select new residential home, it'll ask me if I'm doing a residence, attached, duplex, or a manufactured home. And then yes, I'm going to install, repair, replace the curb and gutter. And so yes, I will request a concrete permit. And then based on that answer, it gives me also some conditional formatting to let me know some additional notes about that. So the concrete permit, this is what we call an autofill section. So I am a licensed contractor. So I'm going to provide a description and I'm going to go ahead and do curb and gutter and sidewalk. And I'm going to have vehicles, they will not drive on that. So then that note goes away. So at this point, this is the autofill. Gives some information about how to do this. But then I'm going to just search for the contractor registration. So So I built myself as a test contractor. And you can see all of my information comes up here based on the information that I put in and was verified by the Public Works Department. So also with that, my building license number, license type, the expiration dates, policy numbers, and all of that are included in there. And have also been verified again by the Public Works Department when they submit their contractor registration. So go through just one of the subdivisions. I'm just gonna kind of go through this quickly. This is not too exciting stuff. My garage is 250. And as you can see, as I'm adding in these fields, it's adding it up for me. Through these, this is more at the application that planning goes through. So now it wants impervious surface, asking for that for the stormwater department. And it adds it up. And then we come to these terms and signature. All of this has been reviewed by the city attorney's office. So I'll be working with Bob Jagger to make sure that all of that's good. But then in here, I'll put my name as a digital signature. Then I go to my attachments. There's a list of attachments and whether or not they're required or not. So I'm going to just, I don't have anything downloaded onto this computer, so I'm just picking random things. And yes, people can do this to get past this screen. But that'll be one of the checks that we do in the planning department is make sure that they've uploaded the correct documents. So then I can confirm my submission, make sure everything is good. Got all my attachments and I confirm and submit. So here is what the applicant sees. They're able to, look at all of the fees that are due. What they've got to pay, they can pay with a bank card or bank account. We are working on the finance piece to add the debit and credit cards, or they could pay with a cash check or other method by going into the office. What's that? No.
Not yet. Not yet.
Not yet. So Lori, I'm going to stop the share for just a second because I'm going to change how I'm sharing. Maybe I can. Okay. Which I want to share. So I also want to go into back of this, show you guys the staff side. And then show you how these two things kind of work together. Is everybody still seeing the screen?
Yes.
Okay. How's that? Nope. Okay. All right, let me move it. Awesome. I'm used to this, but log in again because now that I'm on staff side. So this is what the staff side sees. We can take a look at all the records that are active, completed. We can look at them by department. So I'm going to look at the one that we just created. And you can see that there are some fields up here that are office use only. And then, so those are our details. And then if I scroll down, I could see the project info that the applicant just filled out. I can go in and take a look at their attachments and download them if I wanted to. Activity feed, it just keeps track of everything that's happened with this application since it was created. There's information on the applicant. I can view their profile, and I can also add a guest here. So let's add Karen Elgin. And then I can grant her access so that she gets everything that the applicant gets as well. So this can be a great tool for when we have owners and applicants, we can keep them both involved. And then also the location, we can take a look at it. We can look at the owner information. And then here in colorful flags are called GIS flags. They tell us whether or not it's District 60, what the zoning is, what code enforcement territory it is, what council district it is, subdivision. So if I view location, I can look at more about that location. I can see all the records that have been submitted for this location, the units, the legal description. And I can also add a flag. If there's a vicious dog on this property, which could be great for code enforcement, it lets everybody know that goes to this property that there's a vicious dog to watch out for. So then at this point here is our timeline. These are all the steps that are required to get this application approved. So the first thing that's got to happen is the applicant needs to come in and pay their fees, and they could do this online or they could do it in person. So I'm going to pretend that they've paid it with a check, and then I can add details about it if I wanted to, or they could pay, partial check, partial cash. But then once that's complete, you can see it what goes into a blue check mark, and it tells them that this is what's going to happen. So as you could see on the app, this is back on the applicant side. The application fee is now checked green and planning completeness check. So they can request the reviewer, has this been reviewed? Send a message. And the applicant, whoever has been assigned this, will get an email asking if this has been reviewed, and then I can send a comment back to them, or I can add internal notes for staff only on this. So I'm going to put in a couple detailed information here. Bear with me just a second. I'm going to run through a couple things. Okay, so I've gone through this. Planning front counter is the one that's assigned this step. They'll automatically get an email that this workflow step has been assigned to them. But to complete it, I need to go ahead and assign myself. And then I just complete that step. So then all of these steps here in blue are done all at once. So Chelsea is assigned, so I just want to make sure I'm not forgetting anything that I wanted to show you guys. I'm just going to run through these quickly to show you what happens once we get through all the reviews. Computer doesn't want to go as quick as I do.
It knows in advance, it's not the stormwater review.
Right. There we go. Okay, so then based on everybody's review, so again, everybody's got the check marks. And my routing sheet has now been issued, and I can print my document right from there. And then turn this directly into regional building to show them that all my sign-offs are complete. Also, my concrete permit has been issued and I can print that, giving all the information that the inspectors will need to see, how to request their inspections, and then the inspectors' phone numbers if they have any questions. So at this point, let's just say I've got my construction done and back on the applicant side, I can actually request my inspection. So I need 2 different inspections. One of them is the concrete form. So I'm going to go ahead and request that. And let's say I'll be ready by Friday, and I would like for them to come in the afternoon. So they've got their request turned in. And then the concrete inspectors will get a notification that they've gotten an inspection requested. So they can say, yep, I'm good with that on the 20th, and I will be there at 3:30 p.m. Change this to me. So at that point, I can begin my inspection. These can be done from a cell phone, a tablet, or a computer. What's nice about doing it from a phone or a tablet is you could take pictures that'll be included as part of this. But there's their checklist of things that they need to look at. So say the ADA compliance is good, they can add some photos. And then let's just say I want to put some comments in there. And I'm going to go ahead and pass this inspection. Complete it. So then the applicant gets a notification that their concrete inspection has been is in progress. It's scheduled. On request. So there's the inspection history. If they click on that, they can go through the inspection report and see the comments, the photos that were uploaded, whether it passed or failed. And then as the inspections are done, it'll issue the final routing sheet in order for them to get their CO inspection. So real quick, I'll show you a couple things. So the applicant has an account set up. My account is really full because I'm submitting a lot of test applications right now, but it does give me a list of things that I need to work on, do action required. So CO inspection, it lets me know that that's in progress. I can look at all my messages that I've received over time. My profile. I can also take a look at all my projects. So if I click on this test project, it tells me that my residential construction is in progress and I still need to complete my application for non-residential construction. It has all my permits and documents all together. So if I click on it, I can print that document. I can also add guests to any projects. I can add guests myself. They can see that Karen Elgin has been added, but I can also add grant access to this application to anybody. And then it will be in their account as well. Oh, also I can go to the payments and see my application fee. And I can download and print my receipt. So there's a lot of really great features in this. So that's all I really was planning on showing. Is there questions or?
Thank you. Councilor Flores.
I had a question about Regional Building Authority, which is the inspection arm. That is not part of this OpenGov.
They are not part of it, but they can be reviewers in our system. Because it is web-based, we have, actually everybody in regional building has users in the system, but only to the extent of they need to review like a subdivision. They're not part of doing their own inspections. They have their own system. Their inspection.
You mentioned in passing on your example, concrete inspection. Do they handle that?
They do not. That is
Okay,
all
so
state.
that's internal.
Yes.
And I don't, it just seems to me that that's really an important piece of any construction project, is keeping tabs of what's going on with the inspectors. So this system does not at all allow us into their system.
It does not.
Okay.
No. Ambrose is working with regional buildings so that the contractors won't have to print the routing sheets and then hand deliver them or email them to regional building. I'll let Ambrose talk a little bit more about that.
Hi, Ambrose Solis. I'm the project manager from IT on this project for the implementation. And I've been working with regional building to basically get some of our data from OpenGov into their system. Since they won't be utilizing our system, what we will do is get them an export of the data from residential and non-residential. And what we're working on is hopefully a trigger-based export to their FTP. So whenever a document is issued, it'll go directly into their system and they can pull that up, saving the applicant time in taking a hard sheet over to regional building.
Is that best practices with other communities where such a big piece is left off, trying to be more efficient and user friendly? It just seems to me the inspection piece is so important.
Yeah, so, you know, I don't know that we have the capability to help regional buildings next to
Yeah, we do.
to be part of this system, but looking at it from just the city's point of view, we are tracking our own inspections. Anything that the city does, not necessarily regional building. I'm not sure what their system is. I know that the county is possibly looking at OpenGov as well, Global West. So everybody is looking at OpenGov. Ties in regional building, etc.
My last question. So you're very familiar with OpenGov. So there are communities that do have the inspection piece within the software. It's available.
Yes, there are communities. And Andrew Jones is on the line. There are
Nope.
other communities
Can-
like a regional building. Andrew, go ahead.
Yeah, can you all hear me? I wasn't sure.
Yes. we can hear
Okay, great. Yeah, so is the question, are other communities utilizing this for inspections?
Well, for like regional building is kind of the hub. They're the ones that issue the building permits.
Yep.
And so, and they do a lot of inspections as far as when you build a building, you know, the plumbing, the mechanical, the electrical, the framing, all those types of things. And so the question is, are other communities using this system for like a regional building?
Yeah, they are. There's a couple of things. We do have, other regional building type organizations utilizing systems like this. The other thing, different use case, but kind of similar, is a lot of our communities might do something like completely outsource the inspection process to a third-party inspection company. And we do have those organizations allowing the third-party inspection organization into the system to actually do the inspections utilizing OpenGov, because it is unlimited users and you can control who has access to what. You can invite those people that might be outside of the city to collaborate and let them into the system and do certain portions of the approval process. In this case, it would be, the inspection workflow step in the system. So hopefully that gives you an idea and an understanding of kind of the flexibility and the different use cases on how other regional type building organizations are using the system.
I'd like to, the mayor and Lori and myself were in a meeting with regional building last month. And it was my understanding when we came out of that meeting, and this was all tied into the Pueblo Means Business Task Force. And my impression in that meeting was Pueblo or regional building was at that meeting and said they were perfectly willing to be a part of this. And was I dreaming?
Well, let's ask Ms. Grisham. Somebody using this system will be able to request a building permit from regional building, correct?
They will not. No, we still have to go to regional building and actually.
You see, we're spending all this money to create this first class process, and to not have regional building as a part of it is crazy.
Can you hear me okay? Okay, so one of the things, this is the city's portal, which is going to be specific to the city. When we were in the meeting, we were talking with Pueblo Regional Building, and Andrew can talk a little bit more about that side of the development if I go astray. But we're going to be working with Regional Building and the county portal as part of the Pueblo Means Business Task Force through development and through an API. So this project here is just specific to the city of Pueblo at this point in time. And once the county stands up their portal and we build the APIs for regional to hook in and join into that data exchange, then we'll be able to bring to fruition your vision as part of that task force. So this is just a small piece. This is only specific to the city. Does that help?
Yeah, that now I understand the conversation that we had a couple of weeks ago. But I mean, I'll still go back to the reality of, I think regional building should be a part of our process too, because it's, as Councilor Flores said, I mean, how can we function without that?
Well, my understanding was they've been involved in this since we started this process. The regional building had, so that it was integrated.
That's true. What we're working with regional building right now is just working on that data exchange from our system to their system. So we are building that out as part of this project. So we are working through that. Ambrose kind of addressed that data integration. What I mean by API is it's like a program that sits in the middle of the two systems that does the automatic data exchange between the two systems. So OpenGov is working on that programming or that API to be able to do that. So from this project, we are working just on what we need to exchange that data to public regional building. And then as the county and Pueblo West and everything come on board, we'll have to build out and develop those pieces to be able to present that unified portal. Does that?
So the question I asked, Lori, is a user of this system will or will not be able to request a building permit from regional building through this portal?
Not through our portal.
Why?
Because this is just the city portal. They will actually have to request that through the combined portal, so that when OpenGov, and Andrew, I'll let you kind of explain how that portal is going to work. But when they develop that portal, they'll be able to go in just like we do on our portal and be able to enter an address or a parcel number. And based upon where that is located at, it'll take them to the appropriate systems to be able to move forward. So the end user will think they're at one system while they're working with several different other systems that we're tying in the background.
But we won't be able to use that until everybody's ready to go?
That's correct.
And so the county and Pueblo West are some time behind us in terms of implementing this electronic system, correct?
They're about a year out.
And may I try, I'm a layperson here, but here's my visual aid. So if Pueblo West has their system that they absolutely need, and the city has their system that they need, and the county has their system that they need, and regional building has a system that they need, because they all do things beyond just the limited pieces that Kelly showed us today. Then there is OpenGov right here. The portal that connects everybody, whether you enter into any one of these to access to OpenGov, has to be developed. And that is not the specs that the city entered into starting in 2018. We entered into with the city council's assistance and our director of planning conversations so city developers could easily access electronically and know where their inspection and their permits are in our process. So the development of these additional connections into OpenGov and this link of the portal are still in development stages. And you could see it's taken the city 2 years. So it will probably be sometime in the future where all the rest of them have to first adopt OpenGov. Then OpenGov has to create this portal. So the use of portal is being used in multiple definitions before everybody can connect in what happens in the back OpenGov. And all 4 of these systems have different financial pictures like Tyler. So we cannot all use one system because we would never be able to cross what Lori would tell us is our firewalls to get into the city system, which all of this, when they pay here, it will go directly and feed into Tyler. Well, we can't cross financial systems and firewalls by using OpenGov. They all need to maintain their own integrity and security by the entities that are operating. That's what's been explained to me. How did I do from a layperson's perspective?
Great. Councilor Schilling.
Hey, Kelly, do the home builders and general contractors, have you met with all them so they know what's going on here too?
I have,
Okay.
a long time ago, when we first started this process, haven't had lengthy conversations with them.
I would think they'd sure want to know by the end of August what's going on.
Yeah,
And then
make sure to get
What-
with them again and
when are
let
we
them
gonna,
know what's coming.
when everybody wants to use a credit card, when are we able to do that?
You can do that when you go in to pay, you can use your credit card.
Oh, I thought you said you couldn't yet.
No, not yet, but in the next 2 weeks, it'll be set up.
We have to work through some contract negotiations on the payment provider. So we
Okay.
have to work through some of the charges and some of the way it's being set up. So we haven't turned that piece on yet because we haven't entered into that agreement.
The credit card companies, I assume they charge a fee. Will we recharge that fee?
They do, and yes.
And yes, that'll be, okay. Thank you. That's it.
Councilor Tencio.
I guess my question was answered. Sometime in the future, the systems will be integrated and the information will be sent to regional building in a timely manner. The developers and the builders, this is going to make it much simpler for them. They're going to be able to go to one page and find one screen and find out where their project is and whether it's been inspected, whether it's been passed, whether they're getting permits and stuff. We just have to make sure that we're exporting our data to regional building, and they'll get it, you say, within the next year. All these systems will be integrated and we'll be able to work with them.
So one of the things I was just clarifying with Ambrose, one of the things that we're working with Pueblo Regional and OpenGov on is sending a either trigger based, like Ambrose stated, or an hourly export to them to automatically pick up and start integrating or start putting that data into their system. So that's one of the things that we're working on developing now and working with Mike Colucci from Regional Building to determine that right point of that data exchange. And then we have to work with OpenGov to have that built out, and we're in the process of doing that
It
now.
should be done in a real timely manner because you know darn well a developer is going to get on the computer and do his work on our system, and he's going to shut down and go on to regional building system, and he's going to wonder what the hell is going on. We're not, I haven't gotten my information there yet. Yeah, so it has to definitely be in a real timely manner.
Right, and we're working on that now. Andrew, do you have anything to add on that?
No, I mean, I think this is all good dialogue, and it's I've personally worked directly with the city, with the county, with Pueblo West. I have not had many conversations with regional other than, trying to help with the passing back and forth of data. So, no, I think everyone's got a good understanding. We're excited to get the city's portal up very soon, and then, bring all of these together as the other two entities in regional are ready. So.
Councilor Flores?
All of the departments within the city that are going to be able to access, I think this is a fantastic program that's going to make us more efficient, more productive. But I don't want to beat a dead horse, but if we go back to my thinking about how this is supposed to work, if you start with the premise of what the council wanted to do, and that was to be a more friendly user to developers and contractors and subcontractors to be able to do things more efficiently. And I know that we can go in now, we can get the permit, we can pay for the license and pay the deal. To me, that's important. But then if you look at where the real issues and the problems are, I'm a general contractor, I'm building a house, and I get through the system through the city. Now regional building is involved. That's probably 95% of where the problem is, because if I'm a general contractor and I'm in open gov, I can go in there and see that the electrical panel wasn't approved, and there's the reason, and there's the deadline. That to me is where I saw the efficiency, is where developers could see in real time where the bottleneck is, because 95% of building a house is going to involve regional building in every aspect of the building, the carpentry, the plumbing, the electrical. And I don't see that piece being solved the way it is unless they use the old method, which is going into either the Office of Regional Building or, and I don't know what kind of program they have. It maybe it's just going into their portal to find that information out. But that, I just wanted to explain what I'm seeing, and maybe I'm not seeing it correctly.
Well, and I believe that piece will still have to be developed and will be addressed as part of that future development with the county and with regional building. I can tell you that regional building is very eager to participate, and they're working very well with us in getting this to happen. So we will stand ready as soon as that piece stands up and be able to do that integration to try to eliminate that bottleneck that you're stating.
Right.
So.
Yeah, Lori, I understood the regional building had been working with us since we started this project.
That's correct.
So why is it that what we're doing is not going to be integrated with them right now?
Well, there was in the project originally, we were going to build that out of the gate with the project that we had entered into an agreement with. And that's because we had a department that had forgone a piece of, what's it called? The autofill? A piece of an application, and so we were going to redirect that funding into that development. And then the department came back to us and asked us it became necessary for them to have that piece of it built. So we had to take the money and redirect it back. And now I'm going to fund that development out of my budget to try to make that happen. So there was just some changes in requirements and expectations that kind of shifted between the kickoff of the project and where we are at now. So we're a little behind on regional.
Okay. But there's no reason we have to wait for regional until the county and Pueblo West come on.
Well, we'll only be working with regional on what we need to exchange that data, not the integration back to us, or that will be given into the portal when county and Pueblo West come on board.
They're not.
They are not. No.
They're not. But we've been led to believe that this will still work even without that.
And that's correct, through the development of that program that'll sit in the middle of the two systems, the API.
But we're not going to be able to do that with regional building until that program is ready.
That's correct.
And that's a year away.
That's correct. The county, I think the county's program is to go live, I believe is June of next year.
I think it's
I believe it's
November.
June. Is it what?
I think it's November.
Oh, it's gone further?
I think so, but I'm just off the top of my
It
head
takes
saying that.
it takes about a year to implement. This system is more than just permitting businesses and licenses, and the county will be using it as well as Pueblo West in several other different fashions. So they have to be able themselves be able to stand up every aspect of their system and create everything that needs to go into standing up their system. So there's a lot more than just this piece of that integration that they need to handle, as well as integrations to their financial systems and their plan reviews and those type of other things. So it is a long process. And when you're looking at developing a portal, that the Pueblo Means Business portal, we'll call it, you know, you have to take a look at all of the different systems that need to be able to integrate into that portal to be able to do that. And that's going to take some development and some coordination between 4 separate entities. So it's going to take some time for us to get there. So as soon as they stand up and we can get that data to be able to talk and work with OpenGov to develop that portal, then this will be able to start moving better. This is a pretty complex situation, and something that is kind of new. I think even with OpenGov, they've done a little bit of this. And Andrew, jump in here. I look up there like he's there, but with another county, I believe it was in the New York area. And but we're taking it to a whole different level here. So it's going to take some development, some communication, some coordination between a lot of people, including our contractors, our utilities, and things like that. So it's going to take some time once they get started.
Well, I mean, the great news is that we've gotten this far. So, I mean, hats off to you for the tremendous amount of work you've done and what everybody's done through Public Works and through IT, and everybody putting this together has just been incredible. I mean, we're a lot further on than in 2018 when all we had was a dream, you know, and you know, again, Councilor Flores and myself and probably other people on council envisioned something that's not coming to fruition yet. And, you know, that's always disappointing because you want it to be the whole thing as soon as you turn it on. But as long as we're working through the bugs and things, I think this will be very important. And to answer Councilor Schilling, as far as contractors, through the Pueblo Means Business Task Force and the Community Development Task Force, we've had lots of conversations in 2 years over this whole process. So they're aware of it and they're ready to go. As soon as you turn it on, they'll be using it. So, sure. Exactly. Any other questions? Anybody have anything else? Lori, are you?
I just have a comment. You know, Regional's been using a system for a long time. I mean, they hardly have anybody that comes into their office anymore. So this will speed up the city on their end completely. And it's my understanding that the inspections are done right over the phone. So the inspectors don't even go back to the office to enter that information. So it's all pretty immediate. Isn't that correct, Andrew?
I believe that is how Regional is doing it today. I know we have that similar type of functionality where a lot of people are doing virtual inspections, definitely not going back into the office and keying it in. So I would imagine Regional does have that. But again, my direct conversations with the Regional has been somewhat limited and mostly contained to the Pueblo Means Business sessions. Because they're sticking with the system that they have.
Okay.
All right, great, thank you. Keep up the good work.
Thanks.
We're going to move on to number 4 on our agenda, which is the Pueblo Transit Operating Grant Funding, and Mr. Valdez. Great to see you.
Good evening, how are you? I am slightly tired because I was playing grandfather up till about an hour ago. So I should have 2 slides to recap how this whole thing started, because I'll take you back roughly about a year ago when we were in here briefing about our CARES Act money and we had $6.2 million. Out of the initial apportionment, we took $4.2 million off the top, and we kind of sort of subsidized our operating funds for the year as we went forward. And last week, you guys actually passed the ordinance for the carryover funds that were remaining from 2020 into actually one capital project and back into a actual spending account to take care of some maintenance issues we have at the transit center, as well as to take care of some rolling stock. So out of that initial apportionment of $4.6 million, after everything whittled down, there was $1,019,580 remaining. So when we talked last time we were in here, it was how we were going to come back to you with another ordinance to take that savings and out of the general fund and move it into a capital project as a match fund for us to move out of our present location into where we're going. So you should be seeing that one somewhere in the next, well, probably by my next council meeting, that one will be on there. So that left us remaining $1.6 million in our CARES Act funding. We've already turned that grant into the federal government. It's already passed initial reviews, and we are actually waiting for the final stamps to come back from them before they initially apportion it. 1.5 million of that 1.6 is going to go into straight salary savings for our 2021 calendar year. What we would like to do, if you would approve it, was to do another ordinance to take that 1.5 that has already been budgeted for us in 2021 and move that 1.5 into our capital grant match fund, which would put us at 2.537 million. Now you add that 2.537 with a $1 million commitment from CDOT, that in total gives us enough leverage for the upcoming grant cycle for the 5339 for a $35 million grant. That's at a 10% match versus a 20% match. We just did another facility study and walked over everything. We feel that we can qualify under Clean Air Act and ADA to get us to a 10% match versus a 20% match on that grant. Now, the bad news of this whole process is $35 million isn't the full build. That doesn't cover everything we're going to need to build it. The reality is pretty simple. With the capital projects that were approved last week, we're going to buy 4 more vehicles. When we actually take those 4 new vehicles, we're going to have to decide what we're going to park outside. There is no more room at the inn. We have filled every bay, every covered storage area. There is nothing left. So it's going to come to that point where it's going to be oldest outside first. And unfortunately, weather, inclement, things are going to deteriorate at a faster rate. And it's going to put us in that same boat. So we're kind of up against it, and we're getting to a point where we have to get closer. I think we're very competitive this year at $35 million, and I think we can build one complete portion of this. And I think it'll put us in a pretty good spot. The CADEX, well, the categorical exclusion on the property we liked has actually finally passed every step. The federal government has actually signed off and said, yep, that's a good piece of property to build on. So that's one big step ahead. We're now working on getting all of our documentation together for the upcoming grant cycle because we're just waiting on it to drop. It hasn't actually dropped yet, and we'll be ready to go ahead with it. But that's where we sit, and I'll take any questions you got.
Thank you. That's the best news I've heard in 4 years, is that maybe we'll get that grant. Councilor Schilling.
I ask everybody to the left and my right where the property is, and nobody knows. Is it a secret?
So if you go to where the Value Inn is on Hudson.
Okay, and 50?
Directly below it, behind it, on the bottom half.
Okay, down near Welty's and, okay.
By Summit Brick down there?
Yeah.
It's 10 acres, kind of.
Do we own it?
squarish. We do not own the property. Our next step is actually to decide what we're going to do with our match, whether we're going to put all of our match into our grant match, or if we're going to use a portion to actually pursue purchasing the property first. That discussion hasn't taken place yet.
Are we in negotiations to buy the property?
We have talked with them. The Welty's own it.
Oh, the Welty's own it?
Yes.
Okay.
We don't have the property secured.
Okay.
Councilor Flores.
If 35 million isn't enough for the right facility that we need, do we have an engineer's estimate as to what that number is?
I didn't want to say this number, but 62 million.
Wow.
62 million is built out enough so that it will accommodate all of the power and all of the space for 25 years. It'll cover all of the requirements to transition from fossil fuels to full electric fleet. we currently couldn't even entertain some of the grants that are out there for electric vehicles because we don't have space or room to put a charging station in to make it happen.
Maybe this question is better placed with the mayor or our legal counsel. If that infrastructure bill passes, which includes transportation, is there a possibility that we could see additional funds for that facility?
Yeah, I think that's a realistic possibility if that gets passed. Sure.
Thank you.
Counselor Winter, do you have anything?
I do not. Thanks, Mark.
Anybody else? All right, keep it up. You're doing great work over there.
Thank you.
Move on to number 4 on the agenda, which is ARPA City Council priorities. Ms. Solano.
Thank you, Chairman Airlift, City Council, and Mayor Gradisar. We have a short slide deck and then hope that we have we're going to listen to conversation and direction from council on ARPA priorities. So where I started with this evening for you is just a reminder of the 36.7 million that the city received and the fact that the funds must be encumbered by December the 31st of 2024. And then also as a reminder of when we received the 36.7 million and the mayor's intent and direction to involve community engagement, looked at the areas where the regulations required spending, and to remind everyone where those were and where these 7 pillars of groups of community members have been reviewing the submitted projects. It is individuals and households, tourism and hospitality, youth, nonprofits, small business, infrastructure, and then a captured area of community resilience. So those are the 7 pillars that we have been working with. And next slide.
Laura, let me make one correction. The 36.7 million is what we're supposed to get. What we've received is 18.24 or something.
Half of it.
Yeah, half of it. So we don't have the 36 million.
Yeah, the first tranche was half and the second tranche is next year. As a reminder of the structure that the mayor put into place very early on, it was always compliance to the left as a requirement for all actions. And then underneath the mayor, there was sideways with city council. The mayor's youth council was involved. The mayor put together an internal city task force that had been meeting weekly in conversations and discussions. There were 6 town halls, 4 in each of the city council districts, 1 that was available on Zoom for any citizen in the city, and 1 that was focused and dedicated to youth. So after the 6 town halls, the working groups were formed, and there they, as a reminder, they're listed again. The next slide, please. I think as our city attorney and the mayor have taken us through what the approved funding of these ARPA funds are for, and I'm really not going to read here, but this slide can be, again, as a reference as city council has the discussion of priorities. We may pull this slide back up to see the 4 different areas of assisting households and small businesses, workers performing essential work, providing grants to eligible employees. The 3rd is in the reduction of revenue, the spending for governmental services. And the 4th is the area of making investments in water, sewer, or broadband infrastructure. And we'll come back and leave that slide up here in a minute as I walk through the couple extra slides. So with those 7 task force, they have reviewed 26 projects that they just received in the month of July. There are additional 12 or 15 that have been received in the month of August. And of their 26 projects, they have recommended 17 for funding to the mayor, and the mayor is currently working on the priorities of those 17 to bring to city council. There were 102 community volunteer members who are serving on 7 task force, and that is actually unduplicated. So a few community members are serving on more than 1 task force. They're committed to this project. There, out of the 26, there are additional 7 projects that sit at the city level with respect to wastewater, and one you will see receive next week. The library project is one of those 7 with the summer reading challenge, and also there's an opportunity for community cleanup in partnership with the rescue mission and geared toward assisting homeless for opportunity for some earning some compensation. The task force leaders are, I believe Councillor Winter mentioned last week that it would be nice to hear from the 7 individuals who serve as these facilitator group of task force leaders on the process that they've been through and just comments in general. And that group is on the calendar for the work session for next week to present. And next slide, please. And just as a reminder, each of the task force and each of those 27 projects that have already been reviewed went through a similar scoring matrix by each project. And they looked at ranking each one or giving points, a 0, 2, and 4 down the left-hand column. And then the columns across the top in the categories that they were reviewing, they first looked towards eligibility. And of course, we don't have final regulations, but we do have the draft regulations, and we also have updated frequently asked questions that have been updated in May, June, and now in July the 19th is the latest of the updates. And so the eligibility is one. Clearly, some of them do not have eligibility from their first review. Some of them, the task force members will have returned to the submitter asking for additional information. And so you'll hear from them next week. The complexity category was, can this project be required for implementation in 12 months or more, 3 to 12 months? Can it be implemented in 3 months or less? In the cost category, you see no points for a project that was 2 million or more, 500,000 to 2 million were 2 points, and 0 to 500,000 4. We went through a category of what community, what sector of the community we're benefiting, and each of those different pillars have a smaller community that could be benefiting, and not necessarily 108,000 people that live in Pueblo. Equity component is there an equity with respect to each of their goals, and each of those developed goals individually that they'll be sharing with you next week. Is there evidence of sustainability? This is not a project of candy. It's not a distribution that you eat the resources and then they're gone. So is there evidence in this project that this is a sustainable past one particular year or one particular effort? And then the requirements, back to column number 1, is priorities for census tracts. And in our city, the priorities that falling into census tracts is with Brian Gallagher notifying all of us that, you know, most every project is going to qualify into one of the census tracts within our city. The last one is a due diligence for companion funds. I guess not quite last. Is did this project look to leverage other resources from other federal money, state money, local money, private money? Is there companion funds that should be associated with it, such as school district funds, for instance, who received quite a bit of resources under the Arpa grant, Arpa funds distribution? And the last is the infrastructure projects that have been submitted from wastewater and within the city. The mayor made the determination that the internal task force will be reviewing those. There are a couple of external, I think, on that as well, but we do not have an external task force for the infrastructure projects. And that takes you through scoring matrix. And next slide. Our city attorney has utilized the following guiding documents: the interim final rule, which is, I don't know, 600 pages long. It feels like the act is that big, maybe not quite, but the frequently asked questions. And when I email this to you tomorrow, the link will take you to the most updated frequently asked questions. And I'll also just email the PDF file so that you could open it up and look at any of it as well. And then lastly, all of that information is available on the SharePoint for all of you to just go through. And if you need have any questions, or I could walk through the SharePoint with you if you're on your computer and you call me, and we could walk through it together, so I could, you know, navigate it. Or if you want to come to the office, I can show it to you. Our intern for the summer did an incredible job, Courtney Hawking, and she returned for her senior year at Adams State University today, where she's going to serve as the Associated Student body president, and so we lost her, but she's done incredible work, and we were happy to have her for the summer. And the last slide. And that was a fast recap of where we've been since April, and the direction now of your discussion and priorities. And we're going to take notes and move from there and answer any questions along the way. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions, comments from council? Councilor Flores.
You know, when you look at the 7 pillars and you look at the amount of money that we have, how do you, I mean, what is the matrix, I guess, for the distribution of the funds equitably among the pillars? In other words, is there any rhyme or reason there? And I know that some the priorities are different, obviously, but you know that.
Yeah, we did not allocate a particular amount of money to each particular pillar or say that an equal amount of money has to be spent on each pillar. I mean, what we decided to do is go into it with an open mind, and whatever the projects are that rise to the top that look like they'll be the best benefit for the community are the ones we decided to fund. And if it's all in one pillar, I don't think it will be, but we didn't see anything wrong with that if we thought that it was the best use of the funds.
And as long as the council and the council members look at the matrix that you've spelled out, we are really an 8th pillar. It almost appears as though we're the 8th pillar, and that we could submit ideas, I guess, ourselves. Or do we have to go under one of those pillars?
Well, that's what we wanted to have this discussion for your ideas, so we can get them out there and flesh them out. I don't think they necessarily have to be under a particular pillar, but they all obviously have to be for projects that qualify for funding under Arpa.
Right. Thank you.
Councilor Schilling.
Well, I can't sit here and spit out a list of things I want. What we all want is public safety and good streets, and we want to help the nonprofits, and we want to help the poor. But for me to say, I want so much money for this or that, I feel completely incapable of doing that right now. What I'm counting on is when the pillars come and being able to listen to something more focused. I mean, to me right now, we're way up at the top of a funnel, and we're trying to get more focused. And an old Chinese philosopher one time said there are no new ideas. And that's true a lot of the time. So I'm probably more interested, maybe I'm weak or something, but I'm more interested in hearing what they have spent all this time and effort and energy on trying to figure out the right things to do. Do I think they're going to come up with something stupid that none of us are going to like? Probably not. I think they understand that this is federal money and we have limitations and things like that. But maybe somebody else is ready to come up with a whole bunch of things, but I'm more, I mean, you have everything covered here from the welfare of the individual to sewer. I guess I'm talking too long because I'm really of no help. I'm more interested in hearing what the pillars have to say. Thank you for listening.
I would agree.
Councilor McCauley-Bachicha.
So, Laura, you mentioned that there are 26 projects, or I think Mayor mentioned that 17 recommended. Do we have a total amount of what those 17 would be? Would we still have an excess with the 18 million that we've received already if council wanted to? Okay. Do we know what that amount is though, of those 17 recommended projects?
We can look on the site too and see everything that's moved forward, right?
Yes. Excuse me, Counselor, the total out of the 17 that have been recommended, but not through yet the mayor's review, which will narrow that 17 further, is 3,353,576.
Thank you. And Mayor, is there anything specific as far as number that you're going to take with that 17? How many are you going to go down to? Do you know? Or
we still have projects coming in.
Okay.
So there are projects that are arriving, really, we get 1 or 2 or 3 a week, and they just sort of get put in the queue and get assigned to the pillars, and the committee
And they
starts
work through
reviewing
them.
them again.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we haven't this is a cutoff date. We know what the cutoff date is in terms of when that money has to be committed. My goal is to try to fund projects as quickly as we can, get the money out in the community, let them put that money to good use for the citizens of this community, but we don't have to spend it all by the end of this year. And so we're trying to be rational about it, thoughtful, and spend it as good as we can.
Councilor Winter, do you have anything?
I do. I'm going to sound pretty boring, and I've mentioned this before, but we're probably spending close to $2.5 to $3 million a year on emergency sewer repairs. I think this is a great opportunity to take care of all of our sewer issues before we put down new roads. Do it all at once. I mean, I keep harping about how Colorado is going to double its population within the next 15 years, and that probably means us as well. And I think we should just cut to the chase and do what we really need to do.
Councilor Schilling?
Are we trying to do 17 million by the end of December or the 36 million? We have to have some committed by then.
Not the end of this December.
Okay.
By December of 2024, it has to be all committed.
So we're trying to figure out how to spend all 36 million, not just.
Well, we should try to figure out how to spend that. Now, I say that with this caveat that there's some suggestion that part of the infrastructure bill, some want to fund that with the second half of the ARPA payments to cities. Now, obviously, the U.S. Conference of Mayors and CML is opposed to that, but that could happen. I mean, it could be all we get is 18.2 million or whatever we've got to date, and we don't get that second half. I don't know what the odds of that happening are, but we have to be cognizant of that as we move forward. So we can't spend 36 million this year, hoping we're going to get the second half of our money. So I don't know if that's any help or not.
Yeah, I just, when you think about this money, this is a one-time deal. This is, we're never going to see this cash ever again. It's a one-time deal. And what can I've wrestled with the same things that everybody wrestles with is what can you do that would have the most impact on the most people? And I agree with Councilor Winter. He said, the thing we don't see very often and that is out of sight and out of mind, but is the most deteriorated part of our infrastructure is our sewer and our stormwater. It is just, it's just atrocious. And when you talk to wastewater, for instance, I think their budgeted projects over the next 2 years is like $34 million of projects in the next 2 years. Now, where does that money come from? The money from those to do all of that stuff goes on our water bills. Every year we get brought to us a proposal that, hey, we got to raise rates. We got to charge people more money for on their water bills, and because we're just in dire straits. This is the conversation we hear every year, and that's frustrating. We talk about not wanting to raise the fees on road repairs. We don't want to raise sales tax. We don't want to do these other things, but we've never had any problem with raising people's rates on wastewater, and stormwater. But we have infrastructure below our streets. It's over 100 years old. And it's just astronomical, the amount of money that it's going to cost this community over the next however long it takes to do that. And here's a one-time opportunity to take a ton of money to that infrastructure and save the community save the people that live here a ton of money in the process. Homeowners that are paying those bills and every year going up and up and up. It's time that maybe we can not stop it, because 36 million doesn't even start to completely redo our infrastructure under the streets. But I would urge council, as we move forward in this process, these are the types of projects that we know that we see on a daily basis, or for sure on a yearly basis. And as Councilor Winter said, there's not 2 weeks don't go by until we see an emergency repair resolution for hundreds of thousands of dollars to work on our sewers and our stormwater lines. So I just think that this is really a great opportunity for us to do some good with that. And then I was looking through some presentations. I know, where are we going to get the $2 million to go out to Wild Horse for the sewer? Where the West Side Housing Development's looking for 13 million in just sewer and stormwater infrastructure, which is 800 housing units, which will completely revamp the West Side and change the economy. But I think there's a great opportunity here, and that's what I would support. Councilor Attention.
Yeah, you just spent every penny that we're going to get.
Absolutely.
The last 2 minutes, you just spent it all.
That's what I'm here.
So I don't know where the answer is.
Well,
I don't think anybody knows what the answer.
Well, I think, if you're looking for something that absolutely qualifies and benefits all, that would be repairing our sewers, putting in a new sewer system. And especially before we put down all new roads. I mean, it can be in conjunction with that.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right. It's not pretty. Yeah, you're not going to be able to hang that on your reelection placard that, hey, I fixed all the sewers and the stormwater. But in reality, it's what needs to be done. It's
right.
Councilor Flores.
If we're lucky, it looks like we may be getting more money, and that's through the infrastructure bill, wherever that's at this point. I don't know, but let's hope that comes through, because then we're talking real money.
Anybody else have any more comments?
Well, and then also, when you're looking at that $2.5 to $3 million a year that we're spending on emergency sewer repairs, that money could be used for lots of other things like housing or cleanups, that's a lot of money.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to go through just the last year and see how much we've spent on emergencies when it comes to that, because it would shock you. It would shock you. I'm sure.
And believe me, everybody wants their toilet to flush. I'm just saying.
Well, nobody has anything else. I'm going to move that we go into executive session for the purpose of determining positions relative to matters that may be subject to negotiations, developing strategy for negotiations, and or instructing negotiators under CRS section 24-6-402, parent 4, parent E. And the following additional details are provided for identification purposes: to instruct negotiators regarding, first, economic development projects proposed by the Pueblo Economic Development Corporation, and second, the purchase of land for future city issues. Have a first and a second. All those in favor? Aye. We are adjourned.
I don't think I received anything for executive session via email.
And I'm sorry, who was the first?
I'll have Laura text you.
All right, thanks.
We can call her from the executive chambers, but
all right, give me a call.
Okay.
Give me a call.